Dude, did you know people with the vax still get COVID? I thought that's why they got the shot, so they wouldn't get it. Yeah, apparently the Russia collusion isn't real. So Kamala hasn't exactly been democratically elected to be the candidate. Seems like people should be able to vote for who their presidential candidate is. I don't know if that guy actually is a woman. Yeah, honestly, that roof didn't seem that sloped. Now, I certainly don't believe everything the guy says, but Alex Jones told the world what Epstein was up to 20 years ago. How come nobody did anything? So if by 2030 we owned nothing, would we really be happy? Seems kind of weird. Yeah, there's a lot of censorship going on, but did you know throughout history, only the bad guys did censorship? Wait, Hunter's laptop wasn't real? Do you know why only Trump supporters put up American flags? Yeah, so let me get this right. A month ago, Kamala was so unlikable that they couldn't run her, and now they're telling us she's beloved by all? Like, who? Exactly. This is so weird. How come all these different news stations are saying the exact same thing? It's almost like someone gave them the same script. The media relentlessly bashing him, they impeached him, they raid him, they arrest him, they convict him, they try to imprison him, then they try to assassinate him. And I know this will sound crazy, but it's almost like they're politically persecuting Trump. 2020? It looks like they rigged it. Sloped roof? Give me a break. Looks like it could have been an inside job. Dude, it looks like the shot is actually killing people. Drag queens reading to kids? I don't think that's about literacy. Alex Jones is right about a lot. It's just nothing is as it seems. I think it might be better to do our own thinking. I don't know, the DNC, what they did to Bernie, Tulsi, now they install Kamala with no democratic process. What if they're just installing puppets to serve the agenda of their puppet masters? I think they did a coup on Biden. Alex Jones is right about a lot. So the guy that put tampons in all the boys' restrooms is saying Trump is weird? I think there's a lot of communist subversion happening here. I don't know, it's like the deep state is running everything. Obama's been running everything. They're trying to kill masculinity. They want us all weak. Dude, have you read 1984? Well, you don't have to, because we're living it. I need to get more supplies. The thing is literally a death shot, mark of the beast. It's so obvious. They're trying to depopulate the earth so the human population is easier to enslave so they can have complete totalitarian control. They're trying to do this now.
Who's they?
Them. Don't you get it? None of this is real. This is all a simulation. They got us plugged into the Matrix. You think the moon landing's fake? Bro, the moon is fake. Look into it. It's illegal for them to collect taxes, so don't pay your taxes. Yeah, Epstein was a CIA asset. Educate yourself. I don't watch Alex Jones. I study Alex Jones. I'm pretty sure Jesus and QAnon are the same person. How exactly could the earth be round? Just think about it. Taylor Swift and the central banks. Look into it. How could someone not know about Big Mike? Bro, did you know about all this?
Yeah, I've known it for years.
How come you didn't tell me?
I did, but you just called me a crazy conspiracy theorist and started rage screaming at me.
Oh, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Well, guys, a little bit of truth there from Mr. JP Sears. By the way, we love JP Sears. Let me know, hey, which phase are you finding yourself in today? Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3? We're actually going to be taking a trip out to Texas here pretty soon to spend some time with JP and catch a show. So we're really excited about that. So can't wait, JP. We'll see you soon. The DNC is over, and thank goodness. What a week packed full of hypocrisy, lies, and paid for mainstream media gushing. Followed that up with the fact that RFK he just pulled out of the presidential race and endorsed Donald J. Trump. Man, these are some crazy things going on, guys. We're so glad you've joined us here today for the Southern Drawl podcast here on Southern Traditions. We're going to talk about all of that and more right now. Let's get it. So the DNC was filled with lies, hypocrisy, and, well, the media hero worshiping. no unbiased reporting whatsoever. I mean, guys, could you make it any more clear that you're part of her campaign at this point? What kind of hypocrisy am I talking about, you may be asking? Well, let's take a look at Michelle Obama.
She and my father didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, they were suspicious of folks who took more than they needed.
But don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say Michelle's alone in all this. She wasn't the only one. Here, let's check out what some other people had to say, and you see if you can pick out the hypocrisy here. And the mainstream media, like I said, gushing and hero worshiping, actually being called out now on shows like the Colbert Report and others. Take a look at this one. It was very interesting to me as this CNN reporter desperately struggled to save face.
You made press because you were on Stephen Colbert's show, and he said something like, you guys at CNN just report the news straight, and the crowd burst into laughter. Look, I'm on CNN now. I guess we're on it right now. I mean, how do you guys think you are doing is in that arena of like, this is a terribly divided country. We're not only politicized, a lot of people just hate the other side. And CNN, in my view, should be the place where both sides can watch. How do you think you're doing with that?
How is CNN is the place where both sides can watch. And I think, you know, my show is evidence of that. We have lawmakers on from both parties. We'll have Elizabeth Warren on one night. We'll have Ted Cruz on another night. I think lawmakers from both parties should take questions, and you should push both of them. But on CNN being a place of credibility, I mean, look at what just happened in Chicago. We had 300 people from CNN on the ground covering that convention. There were several reporters from just our team alone on the floor, bringing it in real time to people. And I think CNN puts resources behind things and just brings a level of news that you don't get anywhere else. And I think CNN does a great job.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the people on CNN. And what I know what the conservative side of America thinks, and I don't blame them. I watched Kamala's speech last night. It ended at 8:09, I guess 11:09 in the East. It wasn't until 11:23 till the one conservative guy, what's his name?
Scott Jennings.
This Lonely Scott, I call him.
David Urban was there too.
Wait a second. I watched from 8:09 to 8:23, they were just gushing about how great a speech it was. And I think she did fine. I didn't think it was as good as they were making it out to be. But if I'm a conservative in America and I'm watching CNN, just for the straight middle of the road, that's what I hear for 15 minutes, is it's great, and then Lonely Scott. It does look, I mean, and when you see the path, it does look like tokenism. It's kind of like the same as The View. It's like it's almost better to have nobody there, like MSNBC, than to have this.
You know, we call bullshit on every side, not just whatever leaning our audience may be. And I think that's something that people actually want more of, is to hear from that. I think Scott's voice is really important, but I think other voices are important to hear from. And everyone who was speaking last night, it's not like they were all Democrats. I mean, we had Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, Abby Phillip, all my amazing colleagues.
They come across
giving
that way.
analysis.
They come across that way. In a moment like that, it was like 5-1. It always looks like 5-1. Okay, I'll move on.
So RFK has dropped out of the race, the presidential race, and is now endorsing Donald J. Trump. And this is a big, big deal, guys. This is a Democratic candidate from a Democratic family that's now endorsing a Republican extremist, according to the Democrats. This should be a coming to Jesus moment for anybody who's even considering voting Democrat this November. And with all the hate and the pushback that RFK is receiving over this from extreme leftists, it makes you wonder, why did he do this? Why? Why does he? If he drops out of the race because he thinks he can't win, then that's one thing. You would think, though, he'd be endorsing Democrats, right? He is a Democrat. He's got a Democrat for a vice presidential candidate that was going to run with him, and they're endorsing Donald J. Trump. Could it be because of the Democrats' radical agenda? Here's Chuck Schumer essentially telling us one of their main goals if they win in November, one of their main plans to help them push forward all of their radical agendas. Chuck Schumer potentially eliminating the filibuster is the key to a radical agenda. So Chuck Schumer is doing us a favor, says this article. Often parties try to obscure or deny the radical plans prior to an election, but the Senate Majority Leader is being more candid. We appreciate you, Chuck. In a session with reporters at the DNC, Chuck Schumer suggested that should Democrats win the White House, Senate, and House in November, he would seek to end the filibuster for purposes of passing voting rights and abortion legislation. You're going to end the filibuster so that you can just push through your radical agendas without any sort of bipartisan participation. Do we really believe that it's going to stop there, Chuck? No, it's not going to stop there, Chuck. This would be an inflection point in American government. There's no nuking the legislative filibuster a little bit. The end runaround, the Senate's long-standing requirement for 60 votes to pass non-fiscal legislation might begin with voting rights and abortion, but surely wasn't in there. You see, at this point, to pass this sort of legislation requires 60 votes in order for it to proceed. That means that one side or the other has to get some bipartisan support in order for a bill to pass. What Chuck wants to do is make it 51 votes rather. 51 votes to pass his agendas, which means he wouldn't need the Republicans to agree with anything. The Democrats could just radically do whatever they would like to do. And if you think that that would stop with abortion rights and these things that he's speaking about, it would just be a matter of time before national gun bans and gun control, and it'd be just a matter of time before immigration laws are radically changed and undone. Years and years of hard work that has gone on in Washington, D.C. throughout the decades and throughout our long history could just be radically changed by one or the other party, whoever has control, whoever wants to push their agenda. This isn't just going to be a Democrat thing either, Chuck. That filibuster allowed you guys to block a lot of Trump's legislation back when he was president the first time. The filibuster is very important to the United States of America. It is a key principle of the Senate to require that bipartisan support on any bill that gets passed is paramount. Is that the reason RFK has decided to join Trump? Maybe it's the economic disaster that's taking place right now. Take a look at this chart. This chart's comparing Trump's presidency to the current Harris-Biden administration. As you can see here, it's no contest, yet they keep telling us over and over, mainstream media and all these politicians, that the economy is fine, it's doing well, it's doing amazing. I don't know about you, but I feel the hurt. I feel the burn every time we pump gas, every time we buy groceries. I'm sure a lot of you do too. Could it be because RFK wants to protect America's children? Protect them from who? I don't know. People like these radical billionaires that are funding this radical Democratic agenda. People like Oprah Winfrey suggesting that the American dream is dead if abortion is not legal. Well, Oprah, actually the only thing that's dead if abortion is legal is unborn children. Could it be because the Democratic Party is the party of hate through legislative efforts like DEI initiatives, or what I like to call division, exclusion, and insanity? Derek Evans says the Democrat Party is the world's most successful hate group. It attracts poor people who hate rich people, black people who hate white people, gay people who hate straight people, feminists who hate men, environmentalists who hate internal combustion engines, and let's not forget gas stoves, scientists who hate science, and bratty college kids who hate their parents. The party's real key to success is attracting journalists who hate Republicans and work tirelessly to convince the rest of us that we should all vote Democrat. But let's take a look at what RFK actually thinks about this. Charlie Kirk reports that RFK lays out the critical reasons why the Harris-Walz ticket must be stopped: to protect freedom of speech and put a stop to deep state censorship and lawfare, to end the pointless forever war in Ukraine, reconcile with Russia, and prevent neocons from dragging us into more wars in the future, to bring manufacturing back to America and halt deindustrialization, to protect the American dollar, restoring Americans' good health, and protecting America's children. Here's RFK joining Donald J. Trump on stage and speaking at the rally about why he has made this decision.
Tonight, I'm very pleased to welcome a man who has been an incredible champion for so many of these values that we all share, and we've shared them for a long time. He is a great person. I've known him for so long. For the past 16 months, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. But he is a phenomenal person, a phenomenal man who loves the people of this country as much as anybody can love the people of this country. So, Bobby, please say a few words. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, President Trump. A few hours after the assassination attempt at Butler, I got a call from a safe food advocate named Kelly Means, who's been fighting for many years to try to end the corruption at CDC and FDA and USDA. And these institutions, these regulatory agencies, are actually run by the big food processing companies, the big ag and the chemical companies that they're supposed to regulate. And he said to me that he'd been advising me for many years and on my campaign. And he told me that night that he was also advising President Trump. And he asked if I would talk to President Trump. And I said, of course. And about a few minutes later, I got a call from the president. And we talked. We had a very good talk. And then he invited me to come see him the next day. And I went to Minneapolis and saw him. We met again a couple of weeks later in Florida. And we talked about, not about the things that separate us because we don't agree on everything, but on the values and the issues that bind us together. And one of the issues that he talked about was having safe food and ending the chronic disease epidemic. Our children are now the unhealthiest, sickest children in the world. Don't you want healthy children? And don't you want the chemicals out of our food? And don't you want the regulatory agencies to be free from corporate corruption? And that's what President Trump told me that he wanted. He also told me that he wanted to end the grip of the neocons on U.S. foreign policy. He said he didn't want any more $200 billion wars in Ukraine, that we could use that money back here in the United States. The best way to build a safe America is to rebuild our industrial base and rebuild the middle class in this country. And don't you want a president who's going to get us out of the wars and who's going to rebuild the middle class in this country? And he told me that he wanted to end the censorship because the whole basis of American democracy is the free flow of information. And we know that a government that can silence its opponents has license for any kind of atrocity. And can you think of any time that you can look back in history and say that the people who were censoring were the good guys? They're always the bad guys, because it's always the first step down that slippery slope to totalitarianism. And don't you want a president who's going to protect America's freedoms? And who is going to protect us against totalitarianism? And I want to ask you again, don't you want a safe environment for your children? Don't you want to know that the food that you're feeding them is not filled with chemicals that are going to give them cancer and chronic disease? And don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again? Thank you all very, very much, and God bless you, and God bless America.
Well, there you have it, folks. RFK joins the Trump team, joins the Trump campaign, and it sounds like Trump's got some pretty interesting job prospects lined up for RFK. Well, I'm sure that Trump and Bobby are going to do some amazing things together, but all that depends on how we show up to the polls on November 5th. Guys, we have to show up. We have to vote. We have to keep this radical agenda from taking place. We have so much at stake coming up in November. We cannot afford to not show up en masse and ensure the future of this great America that we live in today. Let's make America great again. Trump Vance 2024. That's all we got for you today here on the Southern Drawl Podcast, guys. We hope that you will join us again next week. We're going to be talking to a good friend of mine coming up here soon about a whole nother topic. We're going to be talking about music, AI, and some other things. So we hope you'll join us. We're probably going to put that out on Tuesday. So we'll see you on Tuesday, guys. Be blessed. Be free. See you then. Peace.